Okay, I think we'll go ahead and get started today. Thank you all for joining us for this Boost webinar. The focus of this webinar is going to be on engagement in the off season. I think many of us struggle with this, trying to figure out what to talk about when we don't have pretty vegetables and product to take photos of or scenes from the market to share, how to maintain engagement with our followers in these cold Iowa winter months. This is the, the sixth webinar that we're doing in this series that we're calling Social Media Small Bites. So these are action-packed half-an-hour webinars where we talk about, we focus on one key element of social media management. And so we've gone through 5 so far. You can find those all on our YouTube channel, Iowa Valley RC&D's YouTube channel. And I can share that link after the webinar. We have 2 more webinars left this winter. One here on Thursday on using Canva, which is a snazzy online design tool that's really easy to use to make graphics for your social media. And then on the 8th will be our last one, which is led by our partners in Northeast Iowa on events and using events on social media for your market and vendor businesses. I want to put a quick plug in. Many of you who have tuned into these trainings already are very familiar with this slide. The Boost program has a couple different components, one of which is this webinar series. And in addition to that, we do a coaching program. So it's for Iowa-based farmers market managers and vendors who want to get a little bit more intense training on social media to use for their market or vendor business. So we do a series of one-on-one meetings and talk about 6 different topics related to social media. It's fully free, and there are 2 options in the coming season. So there'll be one that we're calling our accelerated program, which will be 3 months long from February to April. And applications are open for that now if that's something you're interested in. You can visit the link down below, iowavalley.rcd.org/boost. And then we have another option, which is a longer period, 6 months. And it's the same content, but it's just over a longer period of time. So you can kind of think more about how you're incorporating social media into the season as it's kind of going on. Whereas the accelerated program is, you're able to focus on it kind of before you get busy and the season kicks off. Okay, today, as I mentioned, we are going to focus on engagement in the off season. And Emily Stokel, who is one of our Boost social media coaches, is going to be leading this training. And we were lucky to partner with the Ames Main Street Farmers Market to put on this training and get the word out and promote it to you all here in Iowa. And we are glad to be able to put that on with a great partner. So I will toss it over to Emily to talk about engagement in the off season.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being with us today. I'll just pull my presentation up here. Okay, so we are talking about engagement during the off season. Of course, off season is going to vary across your businesses, but kind of treating this as like November to March. What do we want to post in those off months? So first, I just wanted to talk about content planning, because I think a really good place to start with coming up with post ideas is a social media calendar. And this is something that we spend a whole session on in the Boost training program talking about, because it's just a helpful way to thoughtfully plan out your content so you don't pull up your computer one day and feel stuck about what to say. You've kind of charted out some ideas ahead of time. So with all these ideas we're sharing today, I think it would be really great for you to go back to a content calendar and plug some of these ideas in. So maybe starting out with what should go on your social media content calendar, what platforms should you be using? In general, Facebook will most likely be the social media platform that gives you most return on investment of all your time and effort. And then Instagram would be the next platform to try out if you feel like you're doing well on Facebook and you have more content you want to share on Instagram. So that's where I recommend starting with your content calendar. What content should go in there? This can be a variety of things. It could be pictures, it could be videos, it could be blog posts, news articles, infographics. There's lots of different types of content, and we're going to be talking about all that today. And then when to post. So avoid posting 10 times in one day. Of course, we're talking about the off season, so that's probably not anyone's problem. But I think that it is best to try to have a schedule no matter what. So maybe you say, even in the off season, my goal is to post 3 times a week. So when you plot out your content calendar, you're going to try to post, for example, on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And you may think ahead to 2 weeks worth of Monday, Wednesday, Friday post ideas, for example. So what I really recommend doing is try to plot out the month. So maybe a way that you do this is you spend 15 minutes at the beginning of the week, or if you can't do it every week, at the beginning of the month, and you just sit down and brainstorm social media post ideas. And we're going to share some later on in this presentation so you can use those as a jumping off point. So write this down in a big old master list. Then look at that content calendar where you say, okay, I'm going to post Monday, Wednesday, Friday every single week for all 4 weeks of the month, and schedule out the keepers from your big brainstorm list as they best fit throughout the month. One nice thing about the off season is your content may not necessarily be as timely. You might not be marketing, I am going to be at this farmer's market on this Saturday, so this post has to go up on a certain day. You may have a little bit more flexibility on which week those posts end up going into. So here are some ideas that I had to get you started. I sat down and I thought about all the months of the off season, and I brainstormed some themes for them. I know November is already gone. Maybe you can save these themes for next November, or you can cheat a little bit and incorporate these into your December post ideas. But my idea for November is use November as a time to say thank you to everyone. So make a list of everyone who's involved with your business who you could thank. Your sponsors, donors, vendors, media partners, people who've covered you in a blog post, people who've covered you on the local news, any staff, any regular volunteers, and do a post thanking each of these people. Try to give a genuine thanks that mentions what they do for your business and why they mean so much to you. A great idea for December is to use this time to highlight small businesses. We're trying to encourage people to shop small this holiday season. So this is a great opportunity to give shout outs to other small businesses like your peers, basically. And be sure to tag folks as you are giving them shout outs. It's a good way to let them know that you appreciate them, of course, but they may also share your post to their followers as well. So some folks that you could give shout outs to or highlight on your posts during this month might be other vendors that you see at the farmer's market, maybe some small shops in your town, your favorite places to eat, or even the area schools, libraries, other cool organizations or nonprofits that mean something to you. Take this moment to highlight them and say why you think they're great. So our theme for January is kind of like New Year's resolutions. So my idea for this one is that this would be a great time to share lots of healthy recipes. The content that you share on social media doesn't always have to be content that you create. You can share content that other people create, for example. So you could maybe share a recipe a week and try to provide cooking inspiration for meals that people could make with farmers market supplies. So the idea here is that we want our potential customers to always be thinking about fresh and healthy food, because that's going to mean that our business or our farmers market is important to them throughout the year, and it's going to become a bigger part of their life and something that they're thinking about even more. So I listed a few food and recipe blogs here that I personally like. So if you don't follow any, you have a place where you can go to and find some great recipes. But I would love to, if you guys have great recipe blogs that you like, you could share them in the comments too. So just one example of how you can find other people's content and share it in a way that's relevant to your business. So in February, the theme I was thinking of here was like sharing the love, basically. So you're sharing customer testimonials. So hunt down any positive reviews you've ever received, be it on Facebook, Google, Yelp, etc., and share them and say thank you to the person who made that review. It'll subtly encourage others to share their testimonials or review you. But I think this is just a great way to kind of hype up your business and talk about what's so great about it and why people love it and why people connect with you, but in a way that also shows some love back to your customers, especially your most devoted customers. And then for March, you're going to be starting to, of course, like really get into the swing of things in March. So maybe this month you're going to really like focus on taking people behind the scenes of what goes into you running your business or organizing your farmers market. So maybe you want to do a post that shares the history of your organization or your business, how long you've been around, why you started, things like that. Maybe you do a post sharing about your background. So when did you know you were going to open this business? What inspired you to get started? Things like that. Maybe you'll spend some time taking your followers behind the scenes on planning and prep for the new year. I think people underestimate how interesting we find other people's jobs. So you may not think that the planning portion of your business is very interesting, but for someone who doesn't do that job, seeing how you're planning, what crops you're going to grow for the next season, or how you're organizing your ideas around the new farmers market will be very interesting to people who are outside of that organization. It may also, just because of the time we're in, be an opportunity to share some posts about what may be different for this upcoming year, particularly what you're doing to keep your customers safe, just given our circumstances of what this year and likely next year will look like. So outside of those themes, which again, you don't have to stick to, oh, I can only post this in December or whatever. I just tried to give you a place for jumping off of with your brainstorming. Here's some off-season content that's a little bit more evergreen, and you could use this anytime. So this could be a time to share a bio and a photo of each of your team members. It could be an opportunity to work with influencers. So you could ask someone to make a recipe for you. And when I say influencers, this doesn't necessarily have to be like, this doesn't have to be a celebrity. This doesn't have to be someone with a massive following, but it could be someone who is recognizable within your community. So for example, it could be like the high school principal, something like that, where the people who are following you would recognize this person and they would think it's fun that they're sharing a recipe or they're sharing something that connects back to your business. You can always reshare throwback posts. So especially with the weird year that we've had, people will love to see throwback posts from farmers markets gone by, where things were a little bit normal. This is always a great opportunity to run a contest or a giveaway, or a great opportunity to talk about your why behind your business. So what your history is, what your passion for this work is, and try to like connect with your audience on a more personal level. And even more off-season content, you could think about sharing some statistics or some infographics, maybe some fun facts about your industry. If you are an organic farmer, don't take for granted that everyone necessarily knows what that means. Share some stats about that. Share some facts about that may interest people. Share some industry news or articles. Again, this is a great, if you read a great piece about how farmers markets are changing things up during the COVID time, share that with your followers. You don't have to create all of the content that you share. And if you're still stuck on what to say, like Jake mentioned, we have done other webinars, and we actually did another Small Bites training that was on writer's block, and I shared even more ideas in that one as well. So that's on the YouTube channel, and you can find even more ideas for just like busting through writer's block and posts for what to say when you don't know what to say. So I wanted to leave some time for questions or even brainstorming. If you've had something, if you've had a great idea that you think would work well for the off season, please feel free to share it with your peers or ask questions. And then after we wrap that up, Jake's going to share a quick poll that he'd like you to answer.
Great. Thanks, Emily. I did have one question from the chat. Well, I guess I have two questions from the chat now. What do you think about using emojis when you're posting as your business?
Yeah, I think it's really fun when done in moderation and if it makes sense for your business's brand. So if your business, if the tone of voice that you talk in with your customers is really friendly, or you try to make jokes or use puns or anything like that in your posting, emojis could be a great fit for you because it's that more personal, lighthearted way of talking. But if you are if you're, maybe a little bit more serious or things like that, where the tone doesn't feel right, like it would fit, I would maybe avoid it. But I think for a lot of small businesses, we tend to associate small businesses with like that warmth and that friendliness, where I think it's appropriate. Don't go overboard though. You'll know what overboard feels like, right? Like you'll look at it and you'll say like, this is too much. But I would definitely say feel okay to use them, because if that's how you would talk to a friend, then it's okay for you to talk to your customers that way.
And then if you're part of a team that's posting on behalf of a business or a market, then you kind of want to talk about what your collective tone is for your posting, so it's more cohesive.
Yep. If you're not the sole decision maker on that, kind of have an agreement across the board.
Okay, Mallory has a question about, do you think Facebook will ever allow scheduled posts to have tags included in them?
So tagging a certain business or adding hashtags, maybe that person can clarify, because I do think that that you can actually schedule and maybe tagging a certain business.
Post or tagging a certain business.
So pop on here and tell me if this is not what you're talking about, if this is not what you mean. But if you are on the Facebook Business Manager and you go to the publishing tools tool, you should be able to type in your tags as you're drafting that post and scheduling it. And I could maybe screen share that if that's helpful for people.
I don't think I've been able to do it either. Like tried to say like the Atlantic Chamber of Commerce is tagged in my post when I schedule. I don't think Facebook's letting me tag them before I post that.
Really? Do you know if you're doing it through the publishing tools?
Yeah.
You are?
Mm-hmm.
That is frustrating. I wonder, and you're on a business account for sure. I'm just trying to watch the chat as people are going. I'm just curious if there's a way to do that. You should be able to. So maybe I can do a little looking into if there's something using Creator Studio, and it usually works. Yeah, as long as you're a business account and you're using the publishing tools feature, you should be able to add tags on scheduled posts. And if you are not able to add them on certain posts, something that you can do if you have a business manager account is you can message Facebook support and you can say, hey, I'm experiencing this glitch in my Facebook business account. And you will get a response back. They'll take a look and see if there's a glitch with your account. But
that is do a series of screenshots that look into if there is a way to do it and share with the group.
Yep, I could do an example of what that looks like and send that over to you.
Great. Anyone else have any questions or things to share or experiences they've had or ideas they have about posting in the off season? I think there's opportunities to reach out and work with vendors if you're a market manager, and especially in that March time before your market starts. But when they're starting seeds or putting things out in the field, they can take photos and share with you, or you can share their posts too. There's opportunity there.
Yeah. It's also, if you have the time, if you have, okay, so folks are in the chat are saying Creator Studio is working for them. So maybe for the person who was asking the question about tagging, maybe that's an option. But something that we also talked about with some of the folks who were in Boost is that, you know, maybe this is a time to like prep some content for the on season when your vendors are less busy. So if you always are trying to do vendor spotlights and things like that, and they're a little hard to pin down during the busy farmers market season, maybe you get some of that content ready to go, and you don't necessarily have to share it right now, but you just like, you know, get the quotes from them and get responses back from them. You can kind of lay the groundwork for some of those things that you've been wanting to do but haven't had the time to do. So that's another way to think about off season.
Is there potential in the inverse too, where you're spending time and that comes back to your kind of creation of your content calendar and having that forward thinking planning for your scheduled posts and all that? Is there times in the on season when you can be collecting content that you don't plan to share until later?
Definitely photos. I think, you know, if your concern is that, oh, my photos are so much prettier during the growing season, maybe collect those photos, collect more photos than you need, and don't post them all. And then go back to those. So if you just need kind of like a stock photo of your business, you have something from the prettier growing season. Yeah. Always take more photos than you need.
I'm going to launch the poll, but we still have some time left if people have things they want to share or questions they want to ask. Otherwise, this is just 2 questions asking if you learned something through this webinar that you'll plan to use in your social media, and if you'd recommend this webinar to a fellow market manager or vendor.
Yeah, so hopefully got you some ideas that you can use as you're starting your brainstorming. Again, jot down any idea that you think might be a good one, and then start plotting them into your schedule as it makes the most sense for you. And if you exhaust all the ideas from this webinar, go check out that writer's block webinar for even more ideas.
And I wanted to just mention this. This is all the contact information for the team that works on the Boost project. Our staff in Iowa Valley, RC&D. Emily is one of our Boost coaches here in our region. And then Mallory and Josh up in Northeast Iowa, who work on this project based out of Postville. So if you want to contact any of us for any questions, here's our emails. And then just last slide here, thanking you all for joining us. Thanks to the Ames Main Street Farmers Market for helping us put on this training, and to the USDA Farmers Market Promotion Program grant for helping us fund this work, working with markets in Iowa. And if you want to get more information about Boost, there's our website. And if there are no questions, I think we'll close down for the day. Hope you all have a good rest of your Tuesday.